The stars looked the same as they always had, but Ambassador Kale knew today would change everything. His long fingers touched the controls of his ship as he looked at the blue planet below. The third planet from a yellow star held life, and that life had built cities and machines. The Vorthon Empire had found another world to add to their great collection. Kyle's skin shimmered like polished stone as he prepared the standard message. For 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had used the same words. Every new species heard them. Every new species accepted them. The message was simple and clear. Submit to the Council. Join the galaxy in peace. Let the older and wiser species guide you. The creatures on this world called themselves humans. They lived on a planet they named Earth. The first scouts said, humans were young and simple. They had only just learned to leave their world. They had small ships and basic weapons. Like all new species, they would be grateful for guidance from their betters. Kale activated his communication array and sent the message down to Earth. The words had been used so many times they felt like an old song. Greetings, young species. We are the Galactic Council. We come in peace to welcome you to the greater galaxy. Prepare to receive our guidance and join our peaceful civilization. The response came faster than expected. A human voice spoke in clear galactic standard language. This is Commander Jin of Earth Defense. We thank you for your message. We respectfully decline your offer. Kyle stared at his communication panel. In 3,000 years of first contact, no species had ever said no. The word decline did not exist in first contact protocols. Kyle checked his translation systems 3 times. The meaning was clear. The humans had refused. Commander Jin sat in the command chair of the Earth ship New Sol. The ship was smaller than the alien vessel above them, but Jin felt no fear. Around him, his crew worked at their stations. Tactical Officer Yuki watched the alien ship on her screens. Engineer Tay monitored their power systems. All of them had trained for this moment. The alien ship was impressive. It stretched nearly 2 kilometers from end to end. Its hull gleamed with advanced materials. Weapon systems that could level cities dotted its surface. By every measure, it was superior to anything Earth had built. Jin had read the alien message carefully. The words sounded peaceful, but the meaning was clear. Submit or face consequences. The humans had spent years preparing for first contact. They had imagined many scenarios. In every one where aliens demanded submission, the answer was the same. The alien ship moved closer to Earth. More ships appeared from hyperspace. 12 massive vessels formed a line above Earth's atmosphere. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy continents. The message was clear. Submit or die. Jin opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. Ambassador Kyle, this is Commander Jin. We understand your position. Our answer remains the same. We decline your offer. We suggest you leave our space. Kyle could not understand what he was hearing. The humans faced 12 Vorthon warships. Their single small vessel should have surrendered immediately. Instead, their commander spoke as if he held the advantage. It was impossible. No species had ever behaved this way. The war commander of the Vorthon fleet grew tired of waiting. His ship powered weapons and targeted the human vessel. Standard procedure called for a demonstration of force. Destroy one ship and the rest would surrender. It always worked. The human ship moved. Yuki had been watching the alien ship since they arrived. She noticed something the aliens did not expect. Their formations were perfect. Their positioning was precise. Their tactics were thousands of years old. The aliens fought like they were performing a ceremony. Humans fought to win. The New Sol dropped below the orbital plane as Vorthon weapons fired where it had been. Tay pushed the engines past safe limits. The ship moved in ways the aliens had never seen. It twisted and spun like a fighter while shooting like a battleship. Jin watched his crew work with pride. They had trained for years in Earth's war colleges. They had studied every conflict in human history. They knew something the aliens did not. There was no honor in losing. There was no glory in following ancient rules while your enemy wrote new ones. The first Vorthon ship died before its crew understood what happened. Human weapons hit parts of the ship the aliens had never thought to protect. The ship broke apart, in a pattern that showed the humans understood Vorthan engineering better than the Vorthans did. The second ship died while trying to follow standard evasion protocols. The protocols were 3,000 years old. They assumed the enemy would also follow protocols. Humans had no protocols for space combat. They had never fought in space before. They made up new tactics as they fought. Kyle watched his fleet die and could not understand how. The humans should have been helpless. Their single ship should have been destroyed in the first exchange. Instead, Vorthon warships were exploding one by one. The human vessel moved through space like it was dancing. It appeared where Vorthon weapons were not pointing. It shot at places Vorthon shields did not cover. The third ship tried to ram the human vessel. Ramming was an ancient tactic of desperation. The massive Vorthon ship accelerated toward the tiny human vessel. At the last moment, the human ship moved aside and the Vorthon ship flew past. As it did, human weapons hit its engines. The ship spun out of control and crashed into the fourth ship. Jin felt no joy in the destruction. These aliens had come to his world with threats. They had pointed weapons at his home. They had demanded surrender from people who had done them no harm. He felt only determination to protect Earth. The fifth and sixth ships tried to work together. They coordinated their attacks and fired at the same time. The human ship was fast, but it could not be in two places at once. The aliens were sure this would work. Yuki had been waiting for this moment. She fired weapons at both alien ships at the same time. The weapons hit empty space between the ships. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the weapons exploded in a pattern that created a web of energy. Both alien ships flew into the web and their shields overloaded. The ships died together. Tay had designed the weapons himself. He called them spider mines. They were simple devices that created energy webs in space. No one had ever used them before because no one had ever thought of them before. Humans had been fighting for thousands of years. They had learned to use everything as a weapon. The remaining 6 ships pulled back and tried to form a defensive formation. Their commanders spoke quickly to each other in Vorthan language. They could not understand how one small ship was destroying their fleet. They decided to call for reinforcements. Jin intercepted their communication and understood enough to know what they planned. He opened a channel to all 6 ships. Commanders, this is Jin. You came to our world with threats. You pointed weapons at our people. We gave you a chance to leave. You chose to fight. Now your ships are dying. I offer you one final chance. Leave our space and never return. If you call for reinforcements, we will follow your ships home and show your people what humans do to those who threaten children. The words sent cold fear through every Vorthon on the 6 remaining ships. No species had ever threatened to attack a homeworld. It was unthinkable. It was beyond all civilized behavior. It was exactly what humans meant when they spoke. Kale made the decision that would save his life and change the galaxy. He ordered the remaining ships to retreat. As they flew away from Earth, he sent a message to the Galactic Council. The message was simple and terrifying. First contact with humans failed. Species shows unusual aggression and tactical capability. Recommend immediate council review. The message reached the council chambers as Jin was speaking to his crew. Good work, everyone. Send word to Earth Command. Tell them first contact went exactly as we expected. The aliens came with threats and left with fear. We are ready for whatever comes next. Across the galaxy, the council members read Kale's report with growing alarm. No species had ever destroyed a Vorthan intimidation fleet. No species had ever refused to join the council. No species had ever threatened to attack other worlds. The humans were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. They were about to learn just how different humans could be. Captain Hana stood on the bridge of the Silent Thunder and watched the alien world below. The planet looked peaceful from space, but her instruments told a different story. Millions of beings lived on the surface in conditions that made her angry. They worked in mines and factories while a small number of aliens lived in luxury above them. This was the 5th world Hana had visited in the past month. Each one was the same. The Galactic Council spoke of peace and cooperation, But what they had built was an empire of slaves. Species that joined the council became workers. Species that refused died. Lieutenant Suho moved quietly beside her. His team had just returned from the planet's surface. They had gathered information that Earth Command needed to see. The aliens below thought they were alone. They had no idea that human eyes were watching them. "What did you find?" Hana asked. Suho activated a holographic display. Images appeared showing alien facilities on the planet's surface, mining operations on 17 continents, forced labor camps. The local species works 20 hours per day. They die young and are replaced by breeding programs. Hana felt her jaw tighten. She had seen similar reports from other worlds. The Galactic Council was not a peaceful organization. It was a machine that consumed entire species. "How many guards?" "Not many," Suho replied. "The locals have been slaves for so long they do not remember how to fight. The guards are mostly automated systems." Sergeant Mina stepped forward from her engineering station. "Captain, I have been analyzing their technology. The automated systems have a weakness. They rely on central control from orbital platforms. If we could disable the platforms, the surface systems would shut down." Hana nodded. The Silent Thunder was an experimental ship. It carried stealth technology that made it invisible to alien sensors. More importantly, it carried a crew trained in unconventional warfare. Earth had decided that if the galaxy wanted to play games, humans would write new rules. Far across the star system, War Master Velkoth prepared his hunting fleet. The Skarn hegemony ruled a dozen star systems through military might. They were reptilian beings with scales like armor and teeth like knives. For 1,000 years, they had been the galaxy's most feared warriors. Velkoth had volunteered to deal with the human problem personally. The Council had been embarrassed by the loss of a Vorthan fleet to a single human ship. They needed someone to restore their reputation. The Skarn were perfect for the job. The hunting fleet consisted of 7 ships. Each one carried elite Skarn warriors trained from birth to fight and kill. They had never lost a battle. They had never met an enemy they could not defeat. The humans would be taken alive to fight in the arena for the entertainment of their betters. "War Master," his aide reported, "we have detected human ships in the asteroid belt. 3 vessels, small size, minimal armament." Velkoth smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Perfect. The humans come to us. Deploy the hunting formation. Surround them and disable their engines. I want prisoners, not corpses." The Skarn ships moved through space like predators stalking prey. Their formation was ancient and proven. It had been used successfully for centuries. The 3 human ships appeared to be mining asteroids. They showed no sign of detecting the approaching Skarn fleet. Lieutenant Suho watched the alien ships approach on his display. The Silent Thunder and 2 other human vessels had been waiting in the asteroid field for 3 days. They had known the Skarn would come. Human intelligence networks had intercepted their communications. Now the trap was ready to spring. "All ships, this is Suho. Execute Shadow Protocol. Let them get close." The human ships continued their mining operations. They showed no weapons and made no threatening moves. The Skarn ships closed to weapons range and powered their capture systems. Everything was going according to plan. Velkoth felt satisfaction as his ships surrounded the human vessels. The humans were so primitive they had not even detected the hunting fleet. This would be over quickly. "All ships, deploy capture webs. Disable their engines but keep them alive." The Skarn ships fired their capture webs. Energy nets spread through space toward the human ships. The nets would disable the human vessels and allow the Skarn to board them safely. It was a proven tactic that had worked countless times before. The human ships disappeared. Velkoth stared at his displays in confusion. The 3 human ships had simply vanished. His sensors showed empty space where they had been moments before. It was impossible. Ships could not just disappear. "War Master," his sensor operator reported with fear in his voice. "The human ships are gone. All 3 vessels have vanished from our sensors." Velkoth roared in anger. "Find them. They cannot have gone far." But the human ships were not far away. They were very close. The Silent Thunder hung motionless next to Velkoth's flagship, invisible to Skarn sensors. Suho and his team prepared to board the alien ship. They had studied Skarn technology for months. They knew exactly where to strike. Sergeant Mina had designed the stealth systems herself. Human ships could become invisible by bending light and energy around their hulls. The technology was new and untested, but it worked perfectly. The Skarn were hunting ghosts. Suho led his boarding team through the airlock of the Skarn flagship. The aliens had no idea humans were aboard their ship. Skarn security was designed to keep prisoners in, not to keep enemies out. The humans moved through the ship like shadows. Velkoth was screaming orders at his crew when the lights went out. Emergency power activated, bathing the bridge in red light. Alarm systems wailed throughout the ship. His engineering officer reported power failures across all systems. "What is happening?" Velkoth demanded. His chief engineer looked terrified. "Unknown, War Master. Our power systems are failing one by one. It is as if someone is shutting them down from inside the ship." Velkoth felt cold fear for the first time in his life. "Impossible. No one is aboard this ship except us." At that moment, Suho stepped onto the bridge. He appeared from shadows like a demon from Skarn nightmares. His weapon was pointed at Velkoth's head. Behind him, more human soldiers appeared. They had taken control of the ship without firing a shot. "War Master Velkoth," Suho said in perfect Skarn language, "you are now a prisoner of Earth Defense Forces. Order your fleet to stand down." Velkoth could not understand what was happening. His ship was the most secure vessel in the Skarn fleet. His warriors were the best in the galaxy. How had humans taken control so easily? "How?" Velkoth whispered. Suho smiled. "You hunt like your ancestors did 1,000 years ago. You follow the same patterns and use the same tactics. We studied your methods and found them wanting. Your ship has 17 critical vulnerabilities. We exploited all of them." Sergeant Mina appeared beside Suho. "War Master, your ship's computer systems are now under our control. Your weapons, engines, and life support answer to us. Your crew is alive but helpless. The other Skarn ships tried to rescue their flagship. They fired weapons at empty space, trying to hit the invisible human vessels. Their shots found only asteroids. Meanwhile, human teams were boarding each Skarn ship in turn. The proud Skarn fleet was being captured by enemies they could not see. Captain Hana watched the operation from the Silent Thunder's bridge. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The Skarn were excellent warriors, but they were predictable. They followed ancient codes of honor and traditional tactics. Humans followed only one rule: win. Within 2 hours, all 7 Skarn ships were under human control. The proud Skarn warriors found themselves locked in their own detention cells. Their weapons had been taken. Their ships were piloted by human crews. The hunters had become the hunted. Velkoth sat in a detention cell that had once held his own prisoners. Through the transparent walls, he could see human soldiers moving through his ship. They worked with quiet efficiency, studying every system and device. They were learning everything about Skarn technology. Suho visited Velkoth in his cell. "War Master, we are sending you and your crews home in escape pods. You will carry a message to your government and to the Galactic Council." "What message?" Velkoth asked. "Tell them that humans do not accept slavery in any form. Tell them that we will free every enslaved world in the galaxy. Tell them that their ancient empires are about to face something they have never encountered before." "What is that?" Suho's smile was cold. "Justice." The Skarn escape pods launched from their own ships and began the long journey home. Behind them, human crews studied Skarn vessels and technology. Everything they learned would be shared with Earth Command. The galaxy's weapons and tactics would no longer be secrets. Velkoth drifted through space in his escape pod and tried to understand what had happened. The humans had defeated the galaxy's greatest warriors without honor or ceremony. They had used stealth and deception like common criminals. They had treated the sacred art of war like a job to be completed efficiently. As his pod approached Skarn space, Velkoth realized something that filled him with terror. The humans were not just different. They were dangerous in ways the galaxy had never imagined. They did not fight for glory or honor. They fought to win. and they would use any method to achieve victory. The message reached the Galactic Council within days. The Skarn hegemony reported that their finest warriors had been defeated by human ghosts. Admiral Jiho looked at the star map displayed in Earth Command's main briefing room. Red dots marked locations where human ships had appeared in the past month. Blue dots showed liberated worlds where slave populations were now free. Yellow dots indicated alien military assets that had been captured or destroyed. The map told an incredible story. In just 30 days, human forces had spread across 3 sectors of the galaxy. They moved faster than anyone thought possible. They struck targets that should have been impossible to find. Most importantly, they were winning every engagement. Commander Rena stood beside the Admiral, reporting on her latest mission. The Kepler Mining Consortium has been completely dismantled. Their operations on 14 worlds have been shut down. The slave workers have been freed and provided with supplies to rebuild their societies. Captain Wu added his own report. The Meridian trade routes are now under our protection. Merchant ships no longer need to pay tribute to alien pirates. We have established patrol bases on 7 key worlds. Jiho nodded with satisfaction. Earth's rapid expansion was proceeding ahead of schedule. Human ships were appearing throughout the galaxy, but they were not conquering. They were liberating. Every world they touched became free from alien oppression. The strategy was simple but revolutionary. Humans did not fight to gain territory or resources. They fought to spread freedom. Every species they encountered was offered the same choice: join the fight against oppression or be left alone. Most chose to join. Thousands of light years away, the crystalline collective gathered in their great thinking chambers. The collective was ancient beyond measure. They had watched civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy. Their crystal minds could process information faster than any computer. They considered themselves the galaxy's greatest strategic intellects. The problem of humanity had been assigned to their best analytical minds. For weeks they had studied human combat patterns and tactical decisions. They had analyzed every engagement and every victory. The results made no sense according to established military theory. Researcher Zenth addressed the assembled collective. His crystal body pulsed with different colors as he spoke. Fellow minds, we have completed our analysis of human military capabilities. The results are disturbing. The chamber filled with harmonic tones as hundreds of crystal beings focused their attention on Zenth's report. They had expected to find simple explanations for human success. Instead, they had discovered something that challenged their understanding of warfare itself. Humans do not follow established tactical doctrine, Zenth continued. They adapt their strategies in real time based on changing conditions. They use weapons and tactics that have never been documented. Most concerning, they appear to learn from every engagement and apply that knowledge immediately. Another researcher, designated as Korth, pulsed with skeptical colors. This is impossible. Military doctrine exists because it works. Tactics are proven through centuries of use. No species can simply ignore established methods and expect success. Zenth's crystal form flickered with data patterns. Yet humans continue to achieve victory against superior forces. Consider the Battle of Zirion Prime. A single human cruiser defeated 3 hegemony dreadnoughts by using the planet's gravity well to accelerate projectiles beyond theoretical limits. This tactic exists in no military database. The collective struggled to process this information. They had built their civilization on the principle that knowledge and analysis led to victory. They had databases containing the military history of thousands of species. They knew every tactic, every strategy, every possible approach to warfare. Humans seemed to ignore all of it. On Earth, Intelligence Officer Yeon was analyzing intercepted communications from across the galaxy. The aliens were afraid, and their fear was spreading faster than human ships. Every species in the Galactic Council was reconsidering their position. Admiral, Yeon reported to Jiho, we are seeing massive changes in alien behavior patterns. Trade routes are being abandoned. Military fleets are pulling back to defensive positions around homeworlds. The Council appears to be fracturing. Jiho studied the intelligence reports with interest. What are they afraid of? Us, sir. but not in the way we expected. They are not afraid of our weapons or our ships. They are afraid of our methods. We fight in ways they cannot predict or counter. This was exactly what Earth Command had hoped to achieve. Human military doctrine was based on a simple principle. The enemy's greatest weakness was their own expectations. Aliens expected warfare to follow rules. Humans wrote new rules for every battle. The results were devastatingly effective. Alien commanders trained for thousands of years found their knowledge useless against human tactics. Weapons designed to counter known threats were worthless against weapons that should not exist. Strategies proven through centuries of success failed against enemies who refused to cooperate. Ambassador Dong prepared for his most important mission. Earth had decided it was time to address the Galactic Council directly. The time for shadow operations was ending. Humanity was ready to announce its intentions to the galaxy. The council chambers on Nexus Prime had stood for 3,000 years. Representatives from hundreds of species had gathered in this place to maintain galactic peace. The architecture was designed to inspire awe and respect for ancient wisdom. Every detail reinforced the message that the council was eternal and unchanging. Dong walked through the chambers and felt only disgust. The beautiful halls were built with slave labor. The precious metals in the walls were mined by beings who would never see freedom. The art treasures displayed throughout the complex were stolen from conquered worlds. The council session began as it had for millennia. Ancient beings took their places on thrones carved from rare crystals. Each species sat in order of seniority, with the oldest civilizations holding positions of greatest honor. At the center of the chamber sat the High Council, being so ancient that other species considered them almost divine. Dong was announced as representing the human species of Earth. His presence caused immediate disruption. Council members had never seen a human before. They whispered among themselves in dozens of languages, trying to understand why this unknown species had been granted speaking privileges. High Counselor Vrex called for order. His species had ruled part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. His voice carried the weight of absolute authority. Representative of Earth, you stand before beings who have maintained galactic peace since before your species discovered fire. Explain your presence. Dong stepped forward without showing the expected deference. He did not bow or lower his eyes. He looked directly at Vrex and spoke in a clear, strong voice. Honored counselors, I come bearing a message from humanity. We have observed your civilization and found it lacking. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. No species had ever criticized the council. No representative had ever shown such disrespect. Several council members rose from their seats in anger. Vrex raised his hand for silence. You dare to judge civilizations that existed before your world was formed? Your species has been in space for mere decades. What possible authority do you claim? Dong smiled. The authority of truth. You call this a peaceful civilization, but it is built on slavery and oppression. You speak of wisdom, but you have created a galaxy where might makes right. You claim to maintain order, but your order is sustained by the suffering of billions. Enough. Vrex's voice shook the chamber. Your species will submit to council authority or face the consequences. We have shown patience with your earlier misunderstandings. That patience is now exhausted. Dong's smile never wavered. Counselor Vrex, you seem to believe you have power over us. Let me correct that misunderstanding. In the past month, human forces have liberated 47 worlds, destroyed 6 slave trading operations, and captured 17 alien military installations. We have done this without asking your permission or following your rules. The chamber fell silent. The numbers Dong cited were impossible to verify, but the confidence in his voice was unmistakable. Council members began accessing their communication networks, trying to confirm or deny his claims. Furthermore, Dong continued, we have established contact with 36 species that were previously unknown to your council. Species that chose to remain hidden rather than face your version of peace. They have agreed to join a new alliance based on equality and mutual respect. Vrex's ancient face showed the first signs of uncertainty. Impossible. All species in this galaxy are known to the council. All civilizations are part of our peaceful order. Your peaceful order, Dong replied, extends only as far as your weapons can reach. Beyond your borders, free species have watched your empire with disgust. They have been waiting for someone strong enough to challenge your authority. That someone is humanity. At that moment, alarms began sounding throughout the council chambers. Emergency messages flooded the communication networks. Reports came in from across the galaxy. Human ships were appearing everywhere. Council installations were being captured. Slave worlds were declaring independence. Rex read the reports with growing horror. In the hours since the council session began, the galaxy had begun to change. Human forces were moving with impossible coordination. Fleet Admiral Kyung stood before the assembled leaders of Earth's military forces. The holographic displays around the briefing room showed star maps, battle reports, and intelligence data from across the galaxy. What they revealed changed everything. Humanity thought they knew about their place in the universe. Admirals, generals, and commanders, Kyung began, what I am about to share with you will redefine our understanding of this conflict. We are not fighting a war of expansion or territory. We are fighting a war of survival that began the moment aliens detected our existence. The room fell silent. These were Earth's finest military minds, veterans of the liberation campaigns that had freed dozens of worlds. They had seen alien cruelty and oppression firsthand, but none of them were prepared for what Kyung was about to reveal. Colonel Luna activated the central display. Archaeological data filled the air around them. Images of dead worlds, ruined cities, and extinct civilizations appeared one by one. 6 months ago, our archaeological teams began investigating worlds that appeared lifeless on Council star maps. What we found proves that the Galactic Council is not what it claims to be. The first image showed a world covered in glass. The Biao entire surface had been melted by weapons of incredible power. Cities could still be seen beneath the glassy surface, preserved like insects in amber. The civilization that built those cities had been completely destroyed. This is Kepler 442b, Luna continued. Council records list it as a lifeless world unsuitable for colonization. Our investigation shows it once supported a population of 3 billion beings. They were wiped out approximately 800 years ago. More images appeared. Worlds where the atmosphere had been stripped away. Planets where the crust itself had been cracked and broken. Star systems where every habitable world was nothing but radioactive ash. The evidence was overwhelming and horrifying. We have identified 47 dead worlds in this sector alone, Luna reported. Each one shows evidence of complete genocide. Their crime was the same in every case. They refused to submit to the Galactic Council. Admiral Jiho leaned forward in his chair. Are you saying the Council has been systematically murdering entire species? Not just murdering, Kyung replied, erasing them from history. Council databases contain no records of these civilizations. Their art, their culture, their very existence has been deleted from galactic memory. They have been made to never have existed. Communications Officer Bora stood to present her findings. We have intercepted Council communications dating back 1,000 years. They refer to these operations as pruning. Species that show too much independence or military potential are marked for elimination. The process is completely systematic. The assembled officers struggled to process this information. They had thought they were fighting against an oppressive empire. The reality was far worse. They were facing an organization that committed genocide as a matter of policy. How many species have they destroyed? Someone asked. Luna consulted her data. Conservative estimates suggest over 200 civilizations have been completely eliminated in the past 3,000 years. The actual number could be much higher. Kyung let the implications sink in before continuing. Gentlemen and ladies, we are not the first species to resist the Galactic Council. We are simply the first to survive long enough to fight back. The why. Truth hit the room like a physical blow. Humanity's war was not about liberation or justice, it was about survival. If the Council succeeded in defeating Earth, humans would join the list of species that never existed. Thousands of light years away, Captain Siok received an emergency transmission from Earth Command. The Void Syndicate had attacked 3 human colonies in the Outer Rim. The attacks were savage and brutal, designed to terrorize rather than conquer. Xiok commanded the rapid response fleet stationed near the galactic frontier. His ships were among the fastest in the human fleet, designed to reach crisis zones within hours. The Void Syndicate had made a critical mistake by attacking human civilians. The Syndicate was not part of the Galactic Council. They were criminals and pirates who operated in the lawless regions between civilized space. They sold slaves, smuggled weapons, and destroyed anyone who interfered with their business. They had survived for centuries by being too dangerous to attack and too useful to eliminate. They had never encountered humans before. Xiok's fleet arrived at the attacked colonies to find scenes of devastation. The Syndicate had killed thousands of civilians and taken many more as slaves. Their ships had already fled into hyperspace, confident that no one would follow them into the dangerous regions they called home. They were wrong. All ships, this is Xiok, the captain announced to his fleet. The Syndicate believes they can attack our people without consequences. We are going to teach them otherwise. Begin tracking their hyperspace signatures. Human technology had advantages that aliens never expected. Earth's scientists had developed hyperspace tracking systems that could follow enemy ships across vast distances. Within hours, Xiok's fleet had identified the Syndicate's base of operations. The base was located in a nebula that interfered with most sensor systems. The Syndicate had chosen the location carefully. Any attacking fleet would be blind and vulnerable while the defenders could see everything. It was the perfect defensive position. For aliens, Xiok's ships entered the nebula using human-designed sensors that functioned perfectly in the electromagnetic interference. The Syndicate base appeared on their displays like a city floating in colorful clouds. Dozens of ships surrounded massive stations where stolen goods and enslaved beings were processed. The attack began without warning. Human ships appeared throughout the nebula like ghosts materializing from nothing. Syndicate defensive systems tried to respond, but they could not target enemies they could not see. Within minutes, their outer defenses were destroyed. Syndicate. Boss Krex watched his empire crumble from the command center of his flagship. He had built the most powerful criminal organization in the galaxy through ruthless efficiency. His forces had never been defeated. They had never even been seriously challenged. Now human ships were tearing through his defenses like they were made of paper. His best weapons could not hit targets that appeared and disappeared at will. His most experienced pilots were helpless against enemies who seemed to know their every move before they made it. "How are they doing this?" Krex screamed at his tactical officer. "Unknown, boss. Their ships are using technology we have never seen. They can see us, but we cannot see them." Xiok's ships moved through the Syndicate base like surgeons operating on a patient. They targeted specific systems with incredible precision. Weapons platforms died first, then communication arrays, then life support systems. The Syndicate forces found themselves helpless and trapped, but the humans were not interested in destroying the base. They wanted the slaves that were being held there. Human boarding teams moved through Syndicate stations, freeing prisoners and gathering evidence of their crimes. Sergeant Mina led one of the boarding teams through the slave processing center. What she found there made her sick with rage. Beings from dozens of species were being prepared for sale like livestock. Many were barely alive after torture and experimentation. "Captain," Mina reported to Xiok, "we have found approximately 10,000 enslaved beings. They need immediate medical attention." "Medical teams are on the way," Xiok replied. "What about the Syndicate leadership? They are trying to escape in their fastest ships. Should we stop them?" Xiok considered the question carefully. "Let them go. I want them to spread word of what happened here." Within 6 hours, the Void Syndicate had been completely destroyed. Their bases were captured, their fleets were defeated, and their leaders were fleeing for their lives. The organization that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was broken beyond repair, but more importantly, the freed slaves carried news of their liberation across the galaxy. Species that had lived in fear of the Syndicate learned that humans had destroyed them in a single day. The message was clear. Humanity was stronger than the galaxy's worst criminals. Back on Earth, the military leadership absorbed the implications of their discoveries. They were fighting a war against an enemy that had perfected genocide. The Galactic Council was not just oppressive, it was actively eliminating any species that might threaten its control. Fleet Admiral Kyung addressed the assembled officers one final time. We now understand what we are facing. The Galactic Council has maintained power for 3,000 years by murdering anyone who opposed them. They have committed genocide on an industrial scale. What are our orders? Admiral Jiho asked. Simple, Kyung replied. We end this, not just for ourselves, but for every species that was murdered before they had a chance to fight back. We will tear down this empire of death and build something better in its place. The officers left the briefing room with a new understanding of their mission. They were not just fighting for human freedom. They were fighting for the right of all species to exist. They were the galaxy's only hope for justice. Across the galaxy, the news of the Syndicate's destruction spread faster than hyperspace travel. Species that had never heard of humans learned their name. Criminal organizations that had operated with impunity for centuries went into hiding. General Bin watched from the command deck of Earth's largest space station as enemy fleets approached the Sol system. The aliens had finally decided to end the human threat once and for all. 7 different species had combined their forces into the largest armada the galaxy had ever seen. 5,000 warships were coming to destroy Earth. The alien commanders believed they were attacking a primitive world defended by a small human fleet. They expected to find frightened civilians hiding behind outdated weapons. They had no idea what humanity had built in the 2 years since first contact. Every planet in the Sol system had been transformed into a fortress. Mars hosted massive shipyards that produced new vessels every day. The asteroid belt had become a maze of defensive platforms and hidden weapons. Even the gas giants served as bases for human forces. Most importantly, Earth itself had become something no alien could understand. Every human settlement was designed for war. Every civilian had military training. Every factory could switch to producing weapons within hours. The aliens were not attacking a world. They were attacking an entire species that had chosen to fight. Fleet Commander Nuri commanded the human response fleet from the bridge of the battleship Terra. Her ships were smaller than the alien vessels, but they carried weapons and technology that the galaxy had never seen. More importantly, they were crewed by humans who understood that defeat meant extinction. All stations report ready, Nuri announced to her fleet. Remember, we are not just defending Earth. We are defending the future of freedom in this galaxy. Today we show these ancient empires what happens when they threaten our home. The alien armada entered the Sol system in perfect formation. Their commanders felt confident as they approached Earth. The human homeworld looked defenseless from space. Small ships moved between the planets on what appeared to be normal civilian traffic. There were no signs of the massive military buildup the aliens had expected. Admiral Vrex commanded the alien forces from his flagship Eternal Dominion. He had lived for 3,000 years and commanded fleets that conquered hundreds of worlds. He expected this battle to be a simple cleanup operation. Destroy the human military, enslave the survivors, and erase their civilization from history. All fleets begin attack formation, Vrex ordered. Target their orbital installations first, then their cities. Leave enough infrastructure to support mining operations. The alien ships moved toward Earth with the confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. Their weapons powered up and their shields activated. In their databases, Earth was classified as a primitive world with minimal defenses. Victory would be achieved within hours. The first sign that something was wrong came when the asteroid belt came alive. What the aliens had thought were simple mining operations revealed themselves as massive weapon platforms. Thousands of hidden installations opened fire simultaneously, filling space with energy beams and projectiles. The alien formation, so perfect and precise, became a liability. Ships packed closely together could not maneuver when human weapons targeted them. The ancient tactics that had served them for millennia became death traps when faced with enemies who fought without rules. Commander Nuri watched the alien fleet struggle to respond to the asteroid belt defenses. Phase 2, she ordered. All hidden fleets, reveal yourselves. Human ships appeared throughout the Sol system. They had been hiding behind planets, inside asteroid fields, and even within the gas giant atmospheres. The aliens found themselves surrounded by enemies they had never detected. Their superior numbers meant nothing when they were under attack from all directions. General Bin coordinated the defense from his command station. Every human installation was connected to a single network that responded faster than any alien could think. Weapons fired in perfect coordination. Ships moved in patterns that seemed impossible. The entire Sol system fought as a single organism. "Report from Jupiter Station," his aide announced. "Alien Third Fleet is attempting to retreat. Should we pursue?" "Negative," Bin replied. "Let them run. I want survivors to carry word of what happened here." The battle for Earth lasted only 6 hours. When it ended, the largest fleet in galactic history had been completely destroyed. Less than 100 alien ships escaped to hyperspace, carrying terrified survivors who would never forget what they had witnessed. But the real shock came in the following days. Human fleets that had been hidden throughout the galaxy revealed themselves and launched simultaneous attacks on alien homeworlds. The species that had come to destroy Earth found their own planets under assault. Captain Siok led the assault on the Vorthon homeworld. The silicon-based beings who had started the war with humanity watched their orbital defenses crumble under human weapons. But instead of bombardment and conquest, they received an unexpected message. "People of Vorth," Siok announced on all communication channels, "this is Captain Siok of Earth Defense Forces. Your government attacked our world and enslaved other species. Your leaders have been removed from power. You now have a choice. Join the Free Worlds Alliance as equals, or remain isolated until you are ready to embrace freedom." The pattern repeated across the galaxy. Human forces struck alien military installations and government centers with surgical precision, but they did not target civilian populations. They offered something the galaxy had never seen: the chance to choose their own future. President Kang addressed the reformed Galactic Council from the chambers on Nexus Prime. The ancient building had been renovated to remove symbols of alien supremacy. The thrones where species sat in order of seniority had been replaced with simple chairs arranged in a circle. Every species, regardless of age or technology, had an equal voice. "Members of the Free Worlds Alliance," Kang began, "we gather today not as rulers and subjects but as equals working toward a common goal. The age of empire is over. The age of cooperation has begun." General Ho stood beside the president as her military advisor. The veteran commander had overseen the final campaigns that brought down the old order. Now he helped maintain the peace that humanity had fought to create. "The alliance operates on 3 simple principles," Ho explained to the assembled representatives. "First, every species has the right to govern itself. Second, no species may enslave or oppress another. Third, conflicts will be resolved through negotiation, not warfare." Ambassador Yule represented Earth in the new council. He had been chosen for his ability to work with alien species, who still struggled to understand human values. Many aliens found it difficult to believe that humans would share power after achieving military victory. "Some of you question our motives," Yule addressed the council. "You wonder why we offer equality instead of demanding submission. The answer is simple. We fought this war not to conquer but to free. Our victory is meaningless if we become the tyrants we defeated." The transformation of galactic civilization proceeded faster than anyone had expected. Species that had been slaves for generations embraced freedom with enthusiasm. Worlds that had been strip-mined for resources began to rebuild. Art, culture, and science flourished as beings were free to pursue their own interests. The former Galactic Council species struggled to adapt to the new reality. Many had never known anything but hierarchical control. The concept of equality was foreign to beings who had lived for thousands of years as either masters or servants, but adaptation came, slowly and sometimes painfully. The alternative was isolation as the galaxy moved toward a new future. Most species chose to join the alliance rather than remain alone in an increasingly connected universe. Captain Day prepared for humanity's greatest adventure. The galaxy was finally at peace, but there were still mysteries to explore beyond the galactic rim. Unknown civilizations might exist in distant space, New worlds waited to be discovered. More importantly, there might be other species facing the same oppression that humans had found in this galaxy. If such beings existed, they deserved the same chance at freedom that humanity had fought to achieve. The exploration ship New Horizon represented everything the Free Worlds Alliance stood for. Its crew included beings from dozens of species working together as equals. Human officers served alongside former slaves and former masters, united by their commitment to exploration and discovery. All stations report ready for departure, Dai announced to his diverse crew. We go not as conquerors but as explorers. We seek new knowledge, new friends, and new opportunities to spread the ideals of freedom. The ship departed from Earth orbit carrying the hopes of billions of beings. Behind them, the galaxy experienced something it had not known for 3,000 years. True peace. Not the peace of oppression, but the peace that came from justice and equality. In the months that followed, reports reached the alliance of other galaxy clusters where similar oppression existed. Ancient empires that ruled through fear and slavery, species that had never known freedom, beings who suffered under the same tyranny that had once ruled this galaxy. The Free Worlds Alliance faced a choice. They could remain isolated in their own galaxy, content with their achievements. Or they could extend their reach to bring freedom to beings who had never known it existed. The choice was never really in doubt. Humanity had not fought for freedom only for themselves.